Number 10. The Livonian Werewolf. The legend of the werewolf has its roots in true history, and the Livonian werewolf was one of the original werewolves that plagued Europe, at least according to some. This story goes back to 1692, when a man was put on trial in Swedish Livonia. At the time, this man was in his 80s. He admitted to being a werewolf, telling his fellow villagers that he had ventured into hell to do battle with the devil after shedding his human skin and turning into a wolf. The judges didn't know what to think about that, so they deemed him guilty of being a heretic and trying to turn people away from Christianity. The poor old man was flogged and then banished from his village for the rest of his life. This man was named Tis of Kaltenbrunn. When the judge pressed him about how exactly he turned into a werewolf, he claimed that along with his other werewolf friends, they would scurry into the bushes, get naked, and then transform from their human bodies into their wolf bodies. They did this on St. Lucia's Day, the night of the Pentecost, and on St. John's Day. It's difficult to say all these years later if anyone actually saw Tis turn into a werewolf. The villagers were convinced of his supernatural abilities, but experts today say this was all a bunch of nonsense. Instead, historical experts believe Tis was not a physical werewolf, but one of the last remaining practitioners of folk magic in Europe. Number 9. Giant Creature Skull. The giant skull of a mysterious monster recently washed up on a New Jersey beach. The enormous cranium was found by residents at Island Beach State Park, looking like the oversized skull of some kind of bird with a really pointy beak. Initially, officials were left clueless as to what kind of strange being the skull belonged to. It was too large to be any kind of terrestrial mammal. It definitely didn't belong to a shark, and people online even started suggesting it was the skull of a pterodactyl. It was completely smooth without a single scrap of flesh on it, but according to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, the bones actually belonged to a minke whale. Specifically, they were the upper jaw and the skull of the whale. Where the rest of the whale's body is, nobody has a clue. The whale must have been dead for quite some time for all the flesh to be stripped from its bones. Somehow only its skull ended up washing ashore and being pushed by the waves all the way up to the beach access walking path. Regardless, it probably would make for a great souvenir if you could somehow deodorize it and get rid of the fish smell. Then you could tell people that you found a pterodactyl on the beach. Number 8. The Susquehanna Seal. These days, the Susquehanna Greenway is a place for hiking, paddling, and weekend adventures. But in the deep past, this part of Pennsylvania was haunted by a creature known by several names. Some have called it the Kettle Creek Monster, others refer to it as the West Branch Dugong, but most people know it simply as the Susquehanna Seal. According to a local article from February of 1897, this mysterious Pennsylvanian monster existed in the area even before the valley was settled. It had made its way up the river and stayed in the region between Lock Haven and Kettle Creek. It was described by people who witnessed the horrifying thing as a sea monster the size of an ox or a hippopotamus. But unlike anything else on the planet, in the night it could be heard howling in the water and thrashing as if in agony. The creature was blamed in the early 1900s for spilling and capsizing lumber rafts. After a couple decades, stories of the Susquehanna seal became less and less frequent. Locals began to wonder if the creature hadn't died or escaped back to the ocean through a secret underground cavern. Whatever the case, the monster hasn't been seen in almost 100 years. To this day, nobody knows what it really was. It could have been an extra-large seal or a prehistoric monster. Sadly, we'll probably never know. Number 7. Mutant Diamondback. An extremely rare diamondback rattlesnake was just spotted in Florida. A researcher discovered what he described as a rare mutant rattlesnake with an unusual pattern. As scientists have already discovered, eastern diamondback rattlesnakes have brown, tan, or yellow skin, which is covered in brown diamonds with cream outlines. But Pearson Hill, a local biologist, came across a diamondback with no diamonds. It was completely void of any kind of pattern, making it one of the rarest diamondbacks ever spotted. These types of rattlesnakes are huge and venomous, growing up to 6 feet long and weighing 10 pounds. They actually hold the title for being the longest and heaviest venomous snakes found today in North America. In the summer, they hide in vegetation and wait to ambush victims. In the winter, they hide in tortoise burrows or tree stumps and wait for the summer. This one was found loitering in the grass, very clearly a rattlesnake, but without a single diamond on its back. Pearson Hill captured the serpent and put a microchip in it. That way it can be identified by other scientists in the future. As for how it got this weird mutation, the biologist says that both parents probably had a recessive gene variant that resulted in this mutant snake. Luckily for the snake, this weird mutation probably won't stop it from being able to catch prey. Let's just hope that nobody finds it in the bush and mistakes it for a non-venomous snake because of its lack of diamonds. Number 6. The Chupacabra. A man in Texas spotted a strange creature wandering around a suburban neighborhood. He managed to catch the creature on camera, strolling around like some kind of four-legged goblin. The man who got the footage of the beast says it's the Chupacabra. According to the unidentified man, he took photos of the creature near Highway 6 in Houston. It had an uncanny resemblance to the mythical creature that has been allegedly terrorizing communities throughout Puerto Rico, Mexico, and the United States for decades, if not centuries. The Chupacabra is described as looking kind of like a small bear or a rabid dog, with rows of spines sticking out of its neck and an insatiable thirst for blood. Its name literally translates to goat sucker, because legends of the creature arose when a mysterious animal started sucking the blood out of farmers' goats and leaving their bodies all shriveled up. Professional biologists were quick to dismiss these photographs as nothing but a dog suffering from some kind of disorder, possibly mange. They also say it could have been a sick coyote. The creature hasn't been seen again, so there is no real way of knowing if it really was the Chupacabra. Do you think the Chupacabra is real or just another urban legend? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and remember to subscribe if you haven't already. I wanted to give a big shout out to Chad Smith and Lori Carter. Thanks so much for supporting Origins Explained. Number 5. Big Black Cat. In Christian County, Missouri, things can get pretty untamed out in the backcountry. It's not that unusual to spot animals like deer, coyotes, and raccoons. But Stephanie Wigger recently told her local news station that what she saw did not resemble any of the normal woodland animals that live in the region. She says that what she saw was a huge black cat crossing the road, something that looked like a legitimate panther from the Amazon jungle. And according to Stephanie, it wasn't the first time she'd seen the animal. She's seen it at least a dozen times and has estimated the massive feline to be over 100 pounds. Her neighbor has seen the animal, her friends in town have seen it, and the Missouri Department of Conservation has even gotten involved. Francis Skalicki with the Conservation Department has been trying to warn residents to get in contact with them whenever they see a mysterious big cat in the woods. They have protocols that they can follow to help track down and get to the bottom of the mystery. But even though Francis has said this, nobody has figured out what kind of animal is terrorizing the county. Residents have reported dozens of cats and dogs going missing. Almost everyone has seen the giant cat, and there is still no clue as to its origin. We don't know if it's an escaped animal from the zoo or some kind of rampaging monster let loose from the swamps. Number 4. Lake Champlain's monster. The first sighting of the mysterious Lake Champlain water monster goes back to 1609, and since then, there have been hundreds of sightings of America's very own elusive sea monster. Folks who know about the Lake Champlain monster have likened it to the Loch Ness monster from Scotland. And just like the more famous Nessie, there is absolutely no proof or physical evidence that the Lake Champlain monster exists. All we have are hundreds and hundreds of eyewitness accounts and some blurry photographs. The very first person who ever saw the monster is Samuel de Champlain, the famous French cartographer who discovered Quebec. He described the creature as a sea serpent over 20 feet long, with its body as thick as a barrel and its head like that of a horse. But through the years, the descriptions of the monster have changed. Several centuries later, in 1819, a sea captain allegedly witnessed a serpentine monster in Lake Champlain over 187 feet long. He claimed the monster had 3 teeth, eyes colored like onions, and a red necklace. In modern times, sightings of the beast have gotten a little less frequent. People still sometimes claim to see something mysterious slithering underneath the water of Lake Champlain. But just like the famous Loch Ness Monster, nobody, no matter how hard they look, has managed to get a proper photograph of it. Number 3. Flying dinosaurs in North Carolina. In North Carolina, there are a number of mysterious creatures you might encounter, including Bigfoot, the Lake Norman monster, or even a lizard man. But in recent days, people in North Carolina have been witnessing flying dinosaurs. At least that's what they say. Many residents now believe that flying dinosaurs are somehow hiding out in the North Carolina woods. They say that the flying monsters are long forgotten pterosaurs from the days when dinosaurs roamed the earth. This is despite all the scientific evidence we have today that every last dinosaur went extinct 66 million years ago. According to Jonathan Whitcomb, cryptozoologist and author of the book Modern Pterosaurs, there are indeed flying dinosaurs living in North Carolina. And while he might be dismissed as a crazy person, there have been quite a few sightings of them recently. A woman named Cynthia Lee, while studying to be a veterinary technician, saw a flying creature with no feathers and a long tail soaring above her head while she was taking an Uber to work. But oddly enough, the driver did not see it. And coincidentally, her mother and uncle have also seen flying dinosaurs in the past. As much as you might want to chalk this up to a family of delusional crazy people, there have been other witnesses. A man in Charlotte saw something that he described as a dragon. Then a lady in Asheville saw a winged creature fly low over her car. And finally in Jacksonville, an eyewitness saw something with smooth skin and no feathers flying overhead. Basically, no matter where you go in North Carolina, people seem to be seeing dinosaurs in the sky. Number 2. Woods ape. In Colorado, Bigfoot has been spotted no less than 100 times in the last couple of years. One of the more notable sightings occurred in Summit County in broad daylight. It was summer 2019, and a hiker was climbing through the area of Mayflower Gulch when they stopped to take a break. Above them, at around 11,000 feet of elevation, he saw a massive creature much bigger than a person and a lot closer to an ape. It appeared to be climbing up a wall of snow, or at least it was trying to. The creature kept falling down, and it eventually gave up and vanished from sight. The hiker went with 2 others in his party to search the area where he had seen the creature. They found strange prints in the snow, which they managed to photograph and send to the Bigfoot Field Research Organization. But when they tried to follow the footprints, they disappeared, and the monster was lost. The Bigfoot organization labeled this as a Class A sighting, what they believe to be real evidence of a Bigfoot-type creature, some kind of woods ape, living in Colorado. Number 1. The Dover Demon. It was April 21, 1977, when the Dover Demon was first witnessed in Massachusetts. The witness in this case was William Bartlett, just 17 years old. He claimed that as he was driving home, he witnessed a creature with massive eyes and fingers like tendrils. It was perched on a broken stone wall in the town of Dover. He only got a brief look at it because he was driving, but there was no mistaking the demonic creature lurking on the side of the road. If it had only been William who saw the monster, it never would have made it into the local folklore of today. But after he came forward with what he saw, more people started to admit that they too had seen a similar creature. On April 22nd, the day after, another person saw the demon on Springdale Avenue. A handful of other eyewitnesses came forward, and after each of them detailed where they saw the demon, it turned out that all the sightings were in a straight line over a distance of 2 miles. But after April 22nd, the creature was never seen again. To this day, we don't know what the Dover Demon was. Some claim it was a lost alien trying to find its way back to its ship. Do you think the Dover Demon really exists? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and thanks so much for watching! If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!